Okay, men, we're continuing to take a look at Jesus and his manhood, and that we're supposed to be conformed to that image. And we've been taking a look at the side of Jesus in his manhood, what he exemplified. He exemplified that proper balance between tender and tough. We've got to have that as men if we're going to be conformed to the image of Jesus. There are some times we have to be tough men. There are some times we might have to look at our kids and hold them accountable and make them responsible and maybe not bail them out or maybe not give in to them. Sometimes we have to do the tough thing. We've got to make the tough decision. And sometimes being tough means that you're not popular and it might make people mad at you. Sometimes you have to make the decision, if you're a boss, that you might have to fire somebody or discipline somebody, or maybe if you're just a worker in the church, you're a leader in the church, and you got to rebuke somebody because they keep showing up late. You know, sometimes we have to make those tough decisions, and Jesus showed that proper balance between tender and tough. I think that sometimes we have to talk about tough a little bit more today with men because all that's being taken out of us and trying to be taken away from us. But you see, if we're going to be the men of God that God designs us to be, and if we're going to be conformed to the image of Jesus, we've got to know when to kick in the seat of the pants, and we've got to know when to pat on the back. And I might just say, sometimes, we've got to examine ourselves and take a look at ourselves and maybe even sometimes ask some questions. Sometimes maybe ask your wife or ask some of those closest to you and say, am I tough enough? Am I tender enough? And maybe ask some folks and find out where you're at and maybe work on that area, because sometimes you can be so tough and not tender. I mean, I was the disciplinarian in my house. I was the barker. I was the one that would holler, but I was also the one that I would play with my kids. I'd wrestle with my kids. We'd have fun together. We would have game nights and sit at the table and play games and eat candy and things like that. So, there's a proper balance between that tender and tough. And sometimes you might have to ask, how am I doing? Am I 60-40, 70-30? Which side am I? 90-10, that's not good. That's not a good balance. There needs to be a proper balance between tender and tough. And I might just ask you or challenge you. Ask some people, how do I do? How tender am I? Is there a tenderness in me? Is there a kindness in me? And is there a toughness in me? Am I tough when I need to be tough? I might just challenge you today. Ask some folks around you and ask them, what is my balance between tender and tough? And is there one side that I need to work on and maybe another side I need to sort of let up on? Just a challenge to you. Ask someone today.